Process design and sequencing, building the container. So you know that feeling when you walk into a room and collaboration just feels like absolute unstructured chaos? Now compare that to a session where ideas are just flowing effortlessly and every single person is deeply engaged. Well, the difference between those two scenarios isn't magic, it's intentional design. Today, we're going to dive into this concept using the Facilitators Guild framework, specifically zooming in on Domain B. Think of this as the actual architecture of collaboration, where we are intentionally building the exact container needed for a group to succeed.
Right off the bat, here is a massive mindset shift for you. Process authority, not content authority. As a facilitator, your job doesn't mean having all the answers, and you definitely don't need to be the smartest person in the room. Instead, your job is to build the unseen scaffolding. You're designing the path that empowers the group to do the heavy lifting, discover their own insights, and ultimately succeed on their own terms.
When we look at Domain B within the wider landscape of the Guild's 6 competencies, it's pretty unique because it focuses entirely on creating that intentional structure. We're talking about work that happens before you even step foot into a room. You are actively managing psychological risk, making absolutely sure that every single activity is logically ordered and perfectly aligned with your specific outcomes. To pull that off, there is an exact order of operations you want to follow, mainly so you don't completely overwhelm a group right out of the gate. You want a sequence from simple to complex. Step 1 is connection, which builds low-stakes safety. Then you move into Step 2, the heavy challenge and work phase. Finally, you always end with Step 3, reflection and integration. Using this logic ensures the group stays engaged without hitting that dreaded cognitive overload.
Now, obviously, this architecture has to flex depending on the room you're in. Say you're doing team building. Well, you have to sequence those low-stakes interactions first to establish some real, deep psychological safety before you ever ask for vulnerability. But what if you're running a corporate strategy meeting? That's a totally different beast. You shift gears to clear agendas, stage-appropriate activities, and strict time boundaries to just completely maximize collective brain power.
Getting good at this definitely takes time and practice, and it follows a really clear developmental path. At 0 hours, an apprentice is going to rely heavily on pre-designed agendas and basic ground rules. But as you hit the artisan level, around 500 hours, you start building modular contingencies, and by the time you reach the master level at 1,000+ hours, you're synthesizing complex frameworks. You're using tools like Kolb's learning cycle and Bloom's taxonomy, which map out how adults actually process information, and that allows you to do emergent, real-time group design. This whole progression framework really reinforces that mastery is a journey of active, embodied practice. You aren't just sitting there memorizing theory. You are learning to design for the unpredictable, very emergent needs of human beings. You're stepping up from just following a strict, step-by-step recipe to literally bending the architecture of the room to serve the moment.
So I'll leave you with this question. For the next time you walk into a room to lead a group, are you just crossing your fingers hoping for a good meeting? Or are you actively engineering one? Craft intentional spaces for group success. Consider joining and supporting the Facilitators Guild and take that crucial next step in your own architectural mastery.